All right. Hey, welcome, folks. This is going to be your SITREP. It's 7/10/2025, coming to you live here from the Monkey Lounge in the great state of Texas. And so today we're going to just be looking at the world in turmoil. When I show you the things happening, the mainstream media does not want you seeing all of this together because they don't want you connecting dots. They want to keep you in the dark. And we're going to cut through the smoke and mirrors. We're going to get into the deets. I'm going to show you the uptick that has returned with the ISR, which is the Intelligence, Surveillance, Reconnaissance Community. We're going to even take a look at our first arriving guest at Alligator Alcatraz. Hey, listen, before we get into all of that, let me just take you over here to our sponsors, Satellite Phone Store. If you haven't done so and you want to get something really cool added to your quiver, jump on over here to sat123.com. That's sat123.com. And you'll see all the latest and greatest deals. Everything from the Inmarsat phones to the Iridium. You can see they're throwing in power packs and hard cases and all kinds of cool stuff. But they also have bulletproof backpacks, which is definitely something you want to have in your quiver to carry all your stuff. It acts as a Faraday pouch, so you can't be tracked and traced when your stuff's in it. Backup battery power sources. Those come in really handy when your power goes down and you're looking for some way to get your stuff charged up. Again, Faraday bags, they've got all kinds of stuff over there. These things are actually Faraday ballistic backpacks. This is the one that I have. It's a little bougie, and of course, it's ballistic protection, which is really cool, but all kinds of different things. Jump on over there, sat123.com. That's sat123.com. Or you can just give them a call at 941-841-0844 and tell them Monkey sent you. And that is the key word. When you tell them that just keyword Monkey, they'll lock you into all these deals. All right. So, okay, let's jump over here. I'm going to pull up the Sky Glass, and I want you just to see what is happening here. Let me move this up on my screen just a little bit. There we go. All right. I have taken out just a sea of trainers. We're talking probably 200 trainers that are up in the sky right now. Very active day for flying. You'll see when we get over here to the KC-135s, we got a 3-ship coming out of Portsmouth headed westbound. I'm going to show you some activity going on up in Alaska. We do have an exercise coming, but I think that may be a front for maybe posturing. Definitely some strange things happening. We've talked about the trains full of equipment headed to Europe that you're talking about ground strike packages. We're going to get into all of those details. Like I said, this world is in turmoil, and you feel like right now you're in this little safety bubble. Everything's good. We avoided a major catastrophic event over the holiday, but I'm just going to show you that they're right back to where they were. So, all right, take a look at the 60s. These are your Blackhawks. If we just peel this back, you'll notice there is a bunch of, activity here in this region is probably tied to training. I've got 34 and counting, but up the East Coast, probably not. Out here, probably not. This one's probably tied to rescuing folks in the Texas floods, which is just absolutely tragic. We went over that in the last SITREP, as well as talking about cloud seeding and all of the stuff that took place leading up to that event. And so if you haven't done so, go back and watch that one. Very eye-opening, to say the least. All right, now let's get down to here. The KC-135s, I've got 20 headed across. And like I said, these are coming out of Portsmouth. This one's bumping out over the Atlantic. That's just the KC-135s. Let me pull in the 67200 Pegasus as we add those in. Total on screen 31, so we're about 6 above average, which is our baseline at 25. All right. And let's just look at the Chinooks, right? The 47s, these are going to be, as you'll see here, kind of in Oklahoma, coming out of North Texas, maybe. A lot going on around Huntsville and then up the East Coast. So that's a higher than usual number to see on screen, 9 of those. So back that out. And then let's start peeling this back because like I said, we have a lot to cover. So I'm going to start off over in the Intel community. I want to just show you that's going to be South Korea, right? Obviously looking at North Korea. A little bit there on the northern end of Australia. So pay attention if you're down under, right? Because they definitely have a lot of activity going on that side of town or country. You can see off the coast of Israel to be expected. This stuff looks to be about normal. This is a 5-day roll-up, by the way, of the ISR starting July 5th. Now look back over the United States and you'll see all of a sudden we are back at it, folks. Look at the amount of stuff going on over DC, along our southern flank, along our west coast. And then again, you can see them looking out very near the mountains, over the mountains. All right, very active. And then again, as I shown, I've got this thing on loop. All right, so let's move on to the drone activity. And very active. Look at this. Even China's jumping out, looking down south over the water. And then you've got Japan, pretty active. Now there is an exercise getting ready to take shape down in Japan as well. Again, the northern end of Australia. And then you can see, looking at the ship traffic around the Gulf of Oman and into the Persian and then the Strait there. Looking at very closely into Israel and probably beyond. You can see Turkey's pretty busy with their stuff. Low altitude drones. That's a high altitude, so that's probably a Q4 drone coming out of Italy. And then you can see just north of Libya. Now I'm going to back this up. I'll show you. We got some stuff coming out of Utah, headed down to the southern side of California, over LA, down towards the border, San Diego. A little bit there to the northern flank, near, kind of hard to see on your screen, but near Vancouver. All right. And so I'll keep showing you the other stuff that's also in play there. Now look at this one down to Brazil, southern side of Brazil. Now, when I show you the Russians, you'll see why we've got drones headed down there, probably trying to figure out what the Russians are doing down in Brazil. Okay. Now you take a look at the R-135. Again, this is signal intelligence, and you can see between Japan and Okinawa out over the Atlantic. And then off, I mean, just looking right into Israel, and you see something breaking out down over the Red Sea that goes dark. And look at the U.S. last 5 days. Remember I showed you it dropped off there, and then boom, it has come back with a vengeance. So that little box, again, that means they're honing in on where they're looking, all the way down to the southern border. Look at this, kind of just a sweep, right, up the east, southeast coast. Looking very close at the borders into Canada. And then, of course, the usual stuff that we see when it comes to Europe, right? And then we go into AWACS. Last 5 days, you can see a little bit of uptick there out towards Okinawa and Japan. I've got nothing down under. And then you can see, again, just probably looking at ship traffic around the Persian Gulf, everything that's entering into the region. I'll show you that here when we get to the tail end of all the oil tankers that are parked. All right, and then to our southern flank. It's kind of light over the U.S., quite frankly, very light, right? And then you'll see some stuff that rolls up here and over Alaska. Now, when I get into, take a look at this. I'm going to show you the C-17 traffic, and this is why I think things are afoot that we're not being told. We are quietly moving assets into place. Now, there is an exercise out in Japan, so that could be why we have the uptick here. All right, just taking a look at Australia. Look at the stuff that leaves Australia, just goes out to the Pacific. As soon as they get airborne, poop, they go dark. That's because they don't want you knowing where they're going. And then look at the Middle East, 5 days. Look at the traffic coming into Doha, into the UAE. And then look at all the volume going into Ramstein. But look, see it coming across the drink, goes into Ramstein, stretch your legs a bit, and then into the Middle East. Again, 5 days. So we're seeing a continuous buildup over there in the Middle East, and it's very quiet. Look at the amount of traffic coming out of Seattle. Look at the stuff going into Alaska. Very, very large volume going into Alaska. Now, there is a red flag exercise starting on the 17th up there. But again, I think that may just be, you know how we always call things exercises. When I show you what the Russians are doing, you'll see what I'm talking about there. Now, that's the C-17 traffic. Take a look at the air refuelers. going into Alaska. All right, look at the volume going in. So that's more than likely fighters and bombers getting pushed up there. And you can see things, large volume into Hawaii. You'll see some transitions across the U.S., some things headed down towards Colombia, all right, into South America. Again, this is air refuelers, so this is more than likely a lot of fighter movement. And then look at the stuff going into the Middle East, more than likely into Oman, Jordan. They're staging for something. They probably see a buildup happening that they're very uncomfortable with. And then, again, if there's an exercise going on down here, we're not really seeing too much of indicator there when it comes to air refuelers. Now look at the Ruskies, and you'll see they too, right? We're building up on our western edge of Alaska. They are building up on their eastern flank close to Alaska, right? That's the Russians pushing hot and heavy. Look at the volume. I mean, it's almost like just a neon line going in to that region. So you can see the big transitions over. So there's a lot of posturing going on, and you can see it headed into, I mean, they're even going into Israel, right? Around into Kaliningrad. That's a lot of volume for 5 days of Russian movement, all right? Okay. So that gives you kind of a roll up, a lay of the land, and then we're going to get into all the stories and details now. But again, there's a lot of moving pieces going on. The world is at an absolute turmoil. If they try to tell you otherwise, we're just, people aren't paying attention, okay? Now, I do want to point here, active up and about. These are Q4 drones. I'm going to take you over here. This is a Black Cat over this area. You can see that is getting eyes on stuff going on probably in Crimea and out over the Black Sea, everything from the port or the passage coming through Istanbul. All right. And then you got Forte 10. Oh, that's actually Forte 10. This is Black Cat. So Black Cat is, let me just kind of zoom in so we can get a little closer as you see what they are up to. And let me just give you the max trace visibility. So yeah, that's looking at everything over the Mediterranean, closely at Crete, into kind of that northern end of, you got Libya here. So Benghazi is here just for reference, and even looking maybe at stuff going on in Egypt. But this more than likely looking at ship traffic in and out of the Mediterranean. And then we've got Overlord, which is, as always, this is the one that kind of hovers around now. This is a Q4 drone, and it is gathering, more than likely looking at ship traffic and a bunch of other stuff. Now, I'll show you what's going on with all of the oil tankers that are sitting around this area. It's kind of crazy to watch them not really doing anything, but that'll just give you a lay of the land. Again, this is a pretty good indicator that we're still got a lot of concerns going on over there. We don't really trust the Iranians to be holding peace. And, of course, you've got the Yemen, the Houthis getting a little bit sideways as well, still firing stuff off on behalf of Iran. And let's see, that's a Saudi Arabian helo that's pretty close to Mecca, Medina. All right, so peeled all of that back. Let's start getting into some of the stories here. And, one thing I did want to show you. Let me just give you, this is, and I showed you the R135, but I didn't show you, this is the nuke sniffer last 5 days. You can see it has been up and about as well. Now, this is the R135 nuke sniffer, okay? So it also, again, since the 4th of July, this has all happened, all right? So very active from the ISR community. All right, let's get over here to take a look at what's going on with Trump today. Looks like he is in town, Oval Office, closed press. President receives his intelligence briefing, and that's it. Very quiet. Yesterday, he had the African leaders come into play, but today, not too much going on. All right, look at this. Again, you see we are quietly pushing all of these assets into the Middle East. This may be why. Remember, I said, man, it's kind of weird how we just kind of stood down right after the 4th of July. We saw Rubio go across the drink. My speculation was that, he probably paid some the mullahs and the clerics and all of those guys over there in Iran to probably call off the dogs, because we know they have proxies here in the U.S. And then you see probably called them off. They've come back to their chatter. and we're basically finding them and going to round them up. I'll show you when we get over to Alligator Alcatraz that we have some new guests have arrived. All right. So Iran fatwa fundraiser to kill Donald Trump raises over $40 million. Yep, that's a lot of doollah. All right. This is a religious decree, if you're not familiar with the fatwa, issued by the senior Iranian clerics, probably taking the money we just gave them and putting it all on Trump. All right. And then calling for the assassination of Donald Trump has attracted online funding worth tens of millions of dollars. And yeah, Trump just kind of shrugs it off. He knows this is nothing new for him, but this is why we got to get these folks out of our country. All right. Now, this is one of the strangest things. Now, you're probably asking, hey, Monkey, why aren't you talking about the list? All right. You saw me. I was a little bit agitated in the last SITREP, and I'm sure many of you are as well, because it didn't really didn't sit well. All right. My guess, call me crazy, but we are probably in the same environment we saw in his first term, where he appointed people that were deep state. And they just dragged their feet and they gave him a runaround, and we got nowhere. So I'm just going to throw this out there, but you may see a change. Pam Bondi may be packing her bags, and you may see somebody else come in because Trump, he may have just been, give him the head nod and, all right, listen to what they had to say, trust her. But this happened in the last time, his first term. And we had that seat seemed to be a hot seat. Like, it was constantly rotating. So you may see her heading on down the road and him put somebody else in there. Of course, nothing will probably change. Okay. But nonetheless, you may start to see that. Again, that's just an indicator that the swamp is deep. All right. All right. Biden's White House doctor invokes the Fifth Amendment, refuses to answer the House GOP questions. So they bring in the personal doctor of old Flashbang here and start asking him questions. And he says he's invokes the Fifth on his constitutional rights against self-incrimination. Well, if you've done nothing wrong, you haven't lied, you haven't, why? Right? That tells you all we need to know. This guy was out to lunch the entire time, and his doctor basically was giving him a clean bill of health when he knew he definitely didn't have a clean bill of health. So thankfully we made it through that, and maybe some calmer seas ahead, but I don't think so, because I'm showing you what's happening in the world. It is crazy out there. This just goes to show you that we've been lied to. The media covered it up. The administration covered it up. Everybody was covering it up. So, all right. Moving on. So former CIA, FBI directors under criminal investigation over the Trump probe. I will believe it when I see it. Again, this will turn out just like the list. Nothing will happen. If something happens, I will be shocked. Absolutely shocked. Should it happen? Oh, absolutely. In fact, you could probably roll up those entire agencies all the way down to, the worker bee level and find out that it's just an extension of the swamp, all of them, right? All right. World Bank cuts global growth forecast as trade tensions heighten uncertainty. So now this was last month, about 30 days ago, but the fact that they're cutting the global forecast tells you that things are definitely not good. All right. But you're not hearing anything about this. I think we're on the tipping point. This is going to go one direction or another very rapidly, just because there's so much uncertainty out there. Right? You get over here at Wall Street Journal, and of course, this is when they make me sign in to get the. Okay, no, it wasn't. My mouse just went over the wrong thing. All right, I was going to say, come on. All right, stock market news, July 8th, 2025. Trump unveils a 50% levy on copper, sending price to record. And so he's holding firm for his August 1 tariff deadline as the Dow edges lower. So, this is definitely, there's going to be a lot of stock market turmoil here in the coming days and weeks because of these tariffs that are really not coming to where they need. Now, I did see that Trump had said something about we have already made $88 billion in revenue based on tariffs. So other countries have paid us, which is great. And then, you've got senators and everybody trying to figure out what to do with it. How about you go pay down our debt, right? Or at least do something. Give it back to the taxpayers. How about that? All right. Let's keep going. All right, Trump's tariff letters are hitting, and here's how they differ from his earlier threats. So he's sending direct messages. Before, I think it was just broad brush. They sent, maybe some things out to everybody. Now he's getting into a targeted campaign. And he's sending them to Japan, South Korea, Malaysia, Indonesia, and other U.S. trading partners. And, let's see what it produces. But he gave that 90-day extension, and come August 1, things are going to get really interesting. Let's see how many people start to actually fold, right? So, and then here, you see the little breaking headline right above this says, inflation is a problem again for American consumers. Yeah, the economic woes are definitely on the horizon. All right, let's go here. And this is the Dry Baltic Index. So this is an indicator of basically how healthy supply chains are around the world. When people are buying a lot, everything's good, you see it super high. Like this was a good time. It gets above 2,000. Yeah, things are looking good. But it starts dropping down here. You can see it's had its moments. This is nowhere near. I've seen it down almost into 400, but it is definitely on the decline. So we keep an eye on this because this kind of gives you a feel of the heart health of the world. Okay, it's not just U.S. economy, it's actually the world economies. Okay. Hey, do you know all this was going on? Yeah, we're talking about just insane amounts of, this is the Food and Agriculture Organization of the UN, of course, but nonetheless, it's the locust watch. So July 4th, they've got these massive outbreaks yet again. You can see it. It's along kind of the southeastern flank of Morocco, in Algeria, Tunisia, Libya. Look at all of it happening out here. These things are color-coded, the adults, the babies, right? This is basically locusts just destroy everything that's in their path, all right? And so you've got a massive outbreak yet again. You don't hear anybody ever reporting it. All right, look at this. Locusts destroy Western Queensland as pastures with plague possible by the summer. And let me see. I'm just going to, do I want to hit that? It's 36 seconds. And you can see here in the video, that's 1 May. Look at the insane amount of grasshoppers or locusts, okay? And they eat everything in their path. It's insane. Crops, vegetation, gone. You can see them driving over them, and they're just going all over the place. So yeah, this is just another one. Here we go. A biblical swarm of grasshoppers descend on Queensland Road. Aussie driver has filmed it, and I just showed you some of that moment of millions of grasshoppers entirely covering the windscreen. And we'll just kind of go into this one right here. It says farmers are bracing for a plague of locusts to hit after thousands of mice had just infected the place. So Australia is getting it bad. All right. Now, look at this was the mice that came through. All right. Remember those? Okay. We talked about that in the past, but these are record-breaking destruction from crops or for crops between the mice. When you start talking mice, you start talking about all kinds of different stuff like the plagues, okay, because they carry disease. And then now you got all the grasshoppers showing up. I'd be looking for somebody with some answers to this. There's only one. It's God. So nonetheless, pay close attention because this is stuff nobody's reporting. And what it really does, you talk about food scarcity, because if the locusts are showing up and they're eating all of that, then that means they're not going to produce any food out of those crops, more than likely, because it's going to be devoured by the locusts. Then all of a sudden you start having issues with famine. All right. So pay attention because nobody's reporting it. All right. All right. Moving on, we get over here to Alcatraz, and Homestead is the base that they fly in and out of. And you'll notice as I mouse over this, This is the Department of Homeland Security, and this one here as well. Okay, leaving, last seen near Bimini. Now, I'm just going to hit the more so you can see as we get into the arrivals of things coming in. Again, Homeland. These are unknowns, but pretty confident this is, Homeland. So, yeah, the guests are starting to arrive, folks. Look at all of the flights that have come in. Homeland Security. Yeah, these are all Homeland Security coming from just all over the place. So here's a Reach coming in. That's going to be a C-17 that came in from Joint Base Andrews, probably bringing stuff down. But nonetheless, folks, Alligator Alley is open for business, and all the bad dudes that they are snatching up that are criminals that shouldn't be here going to jail at this location. So, all right. Now, we get over here to Biggs Army Airfield. I showed you the amount of uptick when it came to the ISR since July 5th, right? We're right back at it. That tells you they are on the warpath looking for folks. Remember, we just got a huge induction of money into ICE, like into Homeland Security, and I mean like record amounts, okay? So into FEMA. So those are the ones that are getting all of this money just in the nick of time. And that means that this whole program is about to get stepped up on. It's going to be on steroids like nobody's business, okay? These are all the Intel flights leaving and flying out. You can see all the GLEX, okay? So quite a few operations coming in and out of there. That's a third-party company. And then you've got Allegiant Air coming in from CVG, Atlas Air coming in from Baltimore, Washington, Old Eastern Airlines coming in. That flies under call sign BBQ. Right, and from Kansas City, National Cargo's coming inbound to March. Now, where are they headed? Houston, San Diego. Sorry, that's GLEX. Harlington, Texas. So, yeah, these are headed down. These are deporting people more than likely, all right? Or they're going to grab them and bring them up here and park them. And then take a look at their scheduled departures. They've got, as they leave, going to Harrisburg, PA, and then back up to Philly, all right? Okay, this is going to be your NOTAMs, just, again, danger boxes. Those are basically military operations happening that it's on a different level set, okay? And then you can see U.S. is starting to get a lot of boxes across it. You get up here to Canada, these are fire boxes. And you get up here to Alaska. Now, I said there's an exercise supposed to kick off the 17th. So we'll see how big this box gets up here for that. But, again, you've got Russia posturing, right? Actually, in here and all over here, and then we got us here. So we're kind of starting to book in this between the two. All right, which tells you, we're maybe not hearing all of the stories, okay? I still got a lot to cover. We're going to run over the 30 minutes, I'm telling you that. So Patriot missile stockpile, a fraction of what the Pentagon needs to arm as Trump gives them to Ukraine. Now, he's promised 10 of them to Ukraine. Germany is saying, hey, we're going to come in and buy a bunch more. They run about $4 million a copy. It's the PAC-3 missile that goes with the system. So it looks like we're pumping a couple over, but at the same time, we need them for ourselves. So if you got stock in Lockheed Martin, it's getting ready to probably bump up a bit because they're about to come in and order a bunch of PAC-3 missiles, right? Okay. Yeah. They're asking for them, and we just don't have them. That's because we're giving them, Israel's got them. We've got them staged in Doha. We're needing them for ourselves. So we're just going to give them, what we can spare. But this is pretty critical for missile defense. And then UK, France, to enable a coordinated nuclear deterrent. So you don't really hear much about this. But this is in the event of something catastrophic taking shape, then the two of these will work together to fight off the attack. All right, that's basically what they're saying here from a nuclear standpoint. All right. And the Houthis, again, here's a ship sinking. You can see lifeboats and stuff out here. Look like things in the water here as well. But look, this video shows and of course that's not a video, it's just a screen capture, but an attack of a sinking of Eternity Sea bulk carrier in the Red Sea. Again, I think you're probably going to see a U.S.-Israeli response that is very heavy-handed against the Houthis. And like I said, these are Iranian proxies. They are acting on behalf of the Iranians. It's what they do because they're cowards. They use all of their proxies to go out and do their dirty work. All right. Senior official says the Houthis will be taken out by an Arab-led ground force. So, yeah, look, at the end of the day, the Saudis can't stand Yemen. And more than likely, you're going to see a ground force come in and just basically, wipe them out. So you'll see more than likely a heavy air campaign, and then you'll see it followed by a ground campaign that comes in and just basically goes door to door and takes them out. All right. Again, you can see all of the stuff happening here in the Middle East, just turmoil. This, when you start talking about missile activation, it's because all the stuff that Yemen is popping off, drone attacks down here in the very southern tip of Israel. And then this is Israel fighting back. Okay. And then, of course, there are angry protests in front of government buildings demanding the provision of drinking water, an end of corruption. So, yeah, it looks like Yemen is having their own set of issues here from a government standpoint. So you may see maybe some type of unrest that overthrows the current regime. All right. Now, I did mention look at the oil tankers stacking up. These are parked oil tankers. All right. Remember, 20% of the world's oil passes through here. And then again, you get over here on this side and they are stacked up, both oil and cargo. I don't think I've ever seen it like this, folks. So there's definitely something we're not hearing about. Okay. All right. Ukraine says that Russia launched the largest drone missile attack of the war. Let me see if we had the numbers down here. It's pretty insane. Air Force said Russia attacked with 728 drones and 13 missiles, adding that its air defense systems intercepted 711 drones and destroyed 7 missiles. So still stuff got through. That's an insane number. All right. It's just the face of the war, right? It's all drones these days. And of course, if you're popping these things out of the sky with Patriot missiles at $4 million a copy against a little, $10,000 drone or whatever it may be, do the maths. It's definitely not balanced. So, all right, folks, listen, again, just pay attention to the world that's going on around you. You're going to have to dig to find news that really opens your eyes to what's happening in the world because the mainstream is not reporting any of this stuff. So, again, stay frosty. Keep that powder dry. We'll see you on the other side here. God bless. Monkey out.